to call to order the February 12th meeting of the Campbell County School Board and welcome everybody here tonight. First order of business is let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance and then recognize a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, the first order of business is a public hearing to discuss the 2024-2025 operating budget. Let's see, I guess we'll open the public hearing at 6:31. Do we have anybody signed up to speak?
No, sir, no one signed up.
Does anybody want to speak from the audience concerning the budget? Nobody speak? We'll close the public hearing on the operating budget at 6:32.
Involved
The
citizens.
crazy thing is that's exactly what we did last year. Because I look back in the notes. Or the minutes. The next order of business is a new mobile app. Mr. Hudson.
Mr. Jones, Dr. Stanley, members of the board, I'm going to share with you a new app that we're very proud of having. All right, there we go. Technology. Present. Okay. This is an app that we're going to have available to Campbell County residents or anybody to download. It'll be available through the Google Play Store, and it'll also be available through the Apple Store. We have a draft done. It's been completed. We have submitted it to Google, and we've also submitted it to Apple. It is in the first stages of approval from Google, so it's on its way. Again, we're very excited. It's very sharp and crisp looking, and it's truly going to be a hub for all the communications that we have between the schools and parents being able to find the grades through the parent portal app. This kind of creates a central hub and an easy place to find, access what you need for records, and also important announcements that come up as well. If you download this, it will show through the notifications that are pushed out. So if you have a family member that is not in there, I know sometimes we have subs that wonder about the 2-hour delay or something like that. Those messages would be pushed out in this. Click up there, display settings. There you go. Sorry about that. There we go. So it'll default for every user the Campbell County, so it'd be anything at the county level, everybody would get notifications that go out with that. It also has the ability to select other schools as well. So if you have a student in a high school and then also a student in a middle school, you can receive announcements from those schools as well, which is very helpful with keeping all of that information coming in at one point. It'll also update. We're going to have the first 10 news feeds that are happening, that are relevant, that are going on, and that way it stays more current. It'll drop off as we get to those that are no longer any relevant as well. It'll also have links on here for staff directory and also links on here for school board. They'll go back. All this is intertwined with the website, so it's all linked together. So as those places are updated, it is also updated here in real time. The news feeds are a 15-minute grab, so it goes out there every 15 minutes and grabs anything that's new for the news feeds to come up to keep that going. One of the ones that I think is very nice on here, you'll be able to click on schools, and it'll have all the schools listed with their address, their map, contact information. We're also going to have principal information on there as well. So it's nice, quick, it's at your fingertips. It'll be there available to you. It also has, again, the link to the website. So if you click on calendar, anything that's on the calendar will be updated here as well. It pulls from the website, school nutrition links as well. And then the C that's on there is the Infinite Campus parent and student portal. There are links that go back to that so parents can see about grades and everything that's up to date and keeping it current in one place. This is an extension of where we started going to SMS text this year. We're about 65% of the way where people have signed up for that. There are some things that kind of play into that number. Sometimes it's multiple families. They don't want to receive text. Both parents, if one receives text, but we want to continue to push, and that is also connected to School Messenger as well, to this app. Yes, sir.
No, I'm just stretching my hand.
So we're very excited. It should be coming very soon. We're going to have it also on the website. We want to promote it. It's going to be available for you to download both on the Google or on the Apple app as well. So excited. Any questions or?
How long is that approval process? Is that a week or two? Or
Google, you never know. Apple tends to be pretty stringent as well, but we don't expect it to be too terribly much longer. But they have been submitted to both of those corporations, and we just kind of, once they approve it, then it should show up on the portal.
Is there any charge for that, or is it free?
There was a charge for the app. We had School Messenger that does air messaging. It's through them. We work with them. That way it's all tied in together. But for the posting, there won't be any charge for that. It'll be free to anyone to download. There won't be any charge for the download.
And you'll notify us when the app's available?
Yes. We're excited. We wish it was there today, but
Yeah.
we're excited about it.
That's great.
All right.
When you say
Yes, sir.
news feed, what are you referring to? For the individual school or the?
It can't, so this individual schools can do notifications through school messengers. They're specific to that school. If you have those schools selected, you will receive those notifications. And if there's one like a school delay or something important going on, everybody will receive those on the division level as well. The news feed is when we post stuff also on the website, the newer news is on the homepage. Those get pushed as well to this app. So it's all intertwined, it's all together. Yeah.
So the mothers and fathers can push that nutrition and find out what's for lunch?
It'll go back to the website that has the nutrition, and then it does have those categories on our website, yes.
Good.
All right.
Great.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Y'all have any more questions for him?
No?
All right, we're going to hear matters from the floor. First speaker is Jackie Mendez.
Well, good evening. Good evening, school board members. My name is Jackie Mendez, and I'm a resident of Evington, Virginia, and I'm also the co-founder of Campbell Kids. Children deserve better, and better scores in reading, writing, and math, and emphasis on their academics is the priority of all those involved in decision-making as well as implementation. Campbell Kids will serve as a resource for parents and grandparents and others in the Campbell County community, and our website is www.campbellkids.org. We will provide information on academics to build engagement among children and parents to improve the fundamentals of reading, writing, and math. Additionally, we will share information on issues that are of concern to our community. And these include transgender indoctrination, sex trafficking, hypersexualized materials, how to understand what the vocabulary of kindness and empathy and responsibility and advocacy really mean, and how to navigate what social emotional learning is. Parents and the structures and expectations provided at home are not the enemy of the school system. It's only when school systems attempt to divide a child from that for the purpose of an ideology that the clash occurs. So together, our goal must be to secure a safe, conducive environment for learning in school. Last month, Lynchburg Mayor Stephanie Reed hosted an anti-human trafficking summit for local businesses in the community. I went. The mayor declared January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and she said it's happening in the counties around us. It's happening in Lynchburg. It's happening to the children that we see by the people that they trust. So the main message of this summit was very clear: human trafficking must be stopped and prevented, and we know it's here. So our goal as citizens of Campbell County is to raise awareness to this and help families and concerned citizens understand how best to advocate and fight back. And as always, parents are the first line of defense. So I think we provided some resources to the superintendent about the workshop. It was very, very informative. And sorry that I didn't see any board member there. And I think that's really important to understand what's going on, because it's sleeping among us and it's happening. Thank you.
Crystal Coleman, you're next.
Good evening. I'm Crystal Coleman from Alta Vista. First, let me thank you in advance for the upcoming event at Rustburg High School. I think it's still entitled Right Before Your Eyes. This is a wonderful opportunity for the parents, guardians, and families in this community to become aware of the drug problem that leaves no community unscathed. Second, I also attended a seminar on human trafficking sponsored by the Lynchburg City Council that was excellent, and I provided Dr. Stanley with that information. I can only hope that a similar event will be held for our community. I understand that one of the programs that we heard about that night, Freedom 424, has already been tried in one of our schools. Bravo. I hope Dr. Stanley shares more of that tonight. That's wonderful. Lastly, through the leadership and guidance of Dr. Stanley and Dr. Hale, much progress has been made regarding our school libraries. There are still a few kinks, but the progress is undeniable. This does not mean, however, that the watch is over. The school system has provided a real method, not a fill out a form method, for parents and guardians to know what their children are checking out of the library. It is not simply good enough to click on the book title and accept the short description that immediately pops up. Those are provided by publishers who are not interested in having parents really know what's going on. Instead, parents must click on the prompt, navigate to find more information about the book, and actually use it. Parents, you wanted input and a respect for your parental rights. Now you must use it. If you have difficulty using this process, or if you have issues with the material, contact the school. I am encouraged by the progress made, and I look forward to even more successful and productive year. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. It's a breath of fresh air.
Karen, she mentioned this Rustburg High School. You're going to update on where all your sites are going to be?
Yeah, it's every school, every high school, including
high school.
including here. We've got 5 sessions.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Got two set of meeting minutes to approve. The first, I need to approve the January 8th school board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Phillips, second by Dr. Miller, to approve the January 8th meeting minutes. Any questions? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the next set of minutes we need to approve are the January 9th joint board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Maddox, second by Mr. Phillips. Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Payment of the bills.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the bills and moved to approve for payment.
Here, a second.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Miller and a second by Ms. Vaughn that we approve the payment of the bills. Any questions or discussion? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Donations, Ms. McClanahan.
Tonight you have 25 donations that were listed in advance of the meeting on board docs. Unless you have any questions, I ask that you approve them as presented.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, let's see.
With much thanks for another $12,000 plus in donations from our community. I mean, that's just crazy awesome.
You second?
I did.
Mine.
I asked one idiotic question to Mr. Stanley because I didn't know what school we had that had the acronym SAB. Did a lot of thinking. Did a lot of thinking. He straightened me out pretty quick. But. So if you don't know what it is, ask me after the meeting. So if you say you're embarrassed. Let's see, a motion by Ms. Parker, second by Ms. Tanner that we approve the donations. Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Non-resident tuition, Ms. McClanahan.
Tonight you had a list of students being approved for non-resident county tuition. Unless you have any questions, I ask that you approve those.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Maddox, seconded by Mr. Phillips, that we approve the consideration of non-resident tuition. Any questions or discussion? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consideration of request for supplemental transfer of appropriations. Ms. McClanahan.
Tonight you have 2 appropriations. Unless you have any questions on those, I ask that you approve them as well.
I hear a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Phillips, seconded by Dr. Miller. Any questions or discussion? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Consideration of the special ed annual plan. Dr. Pontius.
Despite the rumors in the audience, I am not at the Bob Crane driving through the fog tonight, so I get to be your special education director. So this is your annual plan that we do every year. It's listed in your board documents ahead. It is a federal assurances that we're going to take federal money and use it for the education of students with disabilities. But I wanted to give you an overview of some of what's going on in special education to keep you informed. I want to start with some celebrations. Our new teacher supports, kind of under the work that Ms. Hunley's office has been doing with the mentor coaches, that's trickled out to special education, and seeing them being a part of that process is already starting to pay dividends where teachers are feeling attached to a process. Getting systematic support guided by the experts has been a real game changer for making teachers feel like they belong here. The middle school reading program has also been huge, meeting that need at the middle school level, not only in the general education side, but also special education students being a part of that, getting the direct explicit instruction in reading that they need has been really great. I'll pause here. I just got done sharing this with your special education advisory committee, so they've already heard this earlier. Complex communication, we've been focusing for the past 2 years to meet our needs of students that might have significant expressive communication needs, nonverbal or otherwise, and we've had some partnerships come in and work with us on that, training our speech language pathologists and special education teachers. And one of our goals is that when students leave us, they have some type of communication system in place. And it's very unique to each kid, so that could be an assistive technology device, an iPad or some other device, or it could be a chart or something. There's all kinds of different ways to support it, and technology's been great helping us find right technology tools and load it and support kids so that when they leave here, they're able to have their communication needs met. And it's very difficult work, and our team has really embraced that. The behavioral support trainings, really seeing that huge need for behavior across the board, especially in our youngest kids, and working to develop explicit behavioral intervention plans for kids that are very individualized to those kids is really starting to work. It takes a lot of effort on staff and some changing of mindsets. And then lastly is the math coach, put in a new intervention program this year, and our math coach, Danae Rudy, has been supporting the schools with that. And really kind of taking a playbook out of a reading program for the math with explicit interventions for math. The purpose of the federal grant is to assure that kids have available to them a free, appropriate public education. It means that we're going to assure the rights of kids with disabilities are protected. All right, December 1 snapshot. Every December 1, we take a picture of how many kids we have in special education. It could change before or after, but this becomes the official number that we use at the state level and at the federal level. So I've given you the past 10 years so you can see the growth in special education, where we're now at about 15%. Take it for what it is. Some consider it high, some consider it average. It's below some areas and it's above other areas. We do get a little worried about over-identification, using special education in unintended ways for interventions and things like that. So early interventions matter, and also making sure our general curriculum has solid supports in there. But it's been growing over the years. Here's a breakdown of our disability categories. Small numbers have been omitted. This is not all the disability categories, but it's the one that we can share with you. Not large changes in intellectual disabilities. I'll break down what the acronyms stand for. First one is intellectual disabilities. The other one is hearing impairments. And then SLI is speech language impairments, seeing a lot of increase in speech and language impairments. A lot of that's going to be driven by some of our homeschool parents. And kids are, I'm a little worried about our young kids. What they're getting at home, are they being read to at early ages to help develop those language and communication things? And that's playing it off when they're hitting school at 5, 6, 7 years old. Emotional disabilities is ED. Other health impairment continues to climb. That is usually driven by ADHD in schools, although there are some other health impairments that might factor under that. But I would say 90–95% of that is probably driven by ADHD's prevalence. Specific learning disabilities, pretty stable there. Multiple disabilities, these are kids that have very significant disabilities. Autism continues to grow. I checked the CDC before coming over here, and it's now 1 in 38 kids have autism. And 10 years ago, it probably would have been about 1 in 70, and that's the CDC numbers.
Wait, you said 1 in 170?
1 in 70 10 years ago, and now it's about 1 in 38. So that's an alarming trend, and we're still a little bit always trying to keep up with that and the best practices for our students with autism, and it's a diverse population. And then lastly is our students with developmental delays, and here's where we start students at age 2 through age 5. And we really started years ago to make sure we're getting out in the communities to find these kids. They were sometimes showing up to school and we didn't find them. So Garen Martin and her department and crew have been working to form good partnerships with the homes, also our early childhood providers, so that we can locate and work with the kids early on. And so that's kind of been a great focus for us over the years. Any questions on that? All right. We had some budget requests this year to Dr. Stanley. We wanted to move that math coach. The current math coach is really our teacher for the hearing impaired, but she's math certified, and so she's taken her expertise as being a general ed math teacher and supporting our teachers. So she's wearing 2 distinct hats, and we would like to move her to a full-time role. We also see a need for educational assessors and compliance coaches, and this is kind of twofold. With the compliance coaches, we're seeing a shift in the teaching population from teachers who have been traditionally trained in schools and kind of have a background, or at least in understanding some special education, key components of special education, the law, the requirements, the key components of IEPs, to where they're coming to us fresh and have no background knowledge, and we're trying to build that, build the plane while we're flying it. And that's really difficult to do. It's asking a lot of a brand new person who has a heart for kids, but then we're also going to ask them to do a significant amount of legal work at the same time. The other part is the educational assessors. There's a part of special education where we do a lot of testing of kids. You might not have realized that, but we test kids very frequently, very formalized with psychological evaluations, educational evaluations to see how they're doing. And that takes a lot of time. So a special education teacher has to give up their planning time to go find the kid and pull them and test them. So oftentimes they're not even getting that planning time because they're testing kids for legal purposes, for compliance purposes. So we would like to have more than 2, and many places do. Your larger, more affluent divisions do have 1 in every building, but we'd like to start with 2 just to get that off the ground and being able to support our kids and support our teachers. We see the compliance coaches being able to help teachers, write their first IEP, go to their first IEP meeting and coach them how to do that, coach them on the legal compliance, because it goes throughout the year with progress checking and all the amount of paperwork that goes on in that. We do anticipate having a need for an adaptive curriculum teacher. I'm still reviewing those numbers, but it could be in the Brookville area. And then we need a general education teacher at Leesville Road, special education certified. So the annual plan, what do we get in federal funds? This year we got $1.9 million. Last year we got $1.7. So that addition was really helpful to see an increase in federal funding, and we were able to use that to hire a school psychologist at Apple Vista Elementary School. What does it employ with that total funding? 17 special education teachers, 7 paraprofessionals, 3 instructional staff, 2 speech therapists, and 1 school psychologist. Obviously, that's not everybody, but for the purpose of this grant, we have to say we take federal funds, and you have the option of what you're going to do with it. Do you want to put it towards people, or do you want to buy things with it? Buying things is a little bit difficult for tracking all those things. Let's say you buy an iPad, then you got to track it and then dispose of it. We use our federal funds to hire people. We think people are the best resource for kids. The state chips in about $5 million, and the locality is estimated around $7.6 million. And I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Also in the annual plan is ECSE. That stands for Early Childhood Special Education. Don't you love all the acronyms in special education? That's ages 2 through 5. I heard that. We get about $46,000 for early childhood. That doesn't even pay for 1 teacher, and we have 7. So that's coming out of local and state funds as well. Even though it's a federal requirement, we're still having to support that ourselves. Set-asides funds, this is a unique part of the federal grant where we take a portion of that federal grant through a calculation that the state does, and the state will tell us to set aside, this year it's $65,000, and that's for children who are private schooled or homeschooled, where they can access special education services. Not an IEP, it's very limited, but they can still access some services like some speech services on a limited basis. So I come back to this, why does it matter what we're paying? I think we're all advocates for kids, but it matters where the dollars are coming from. The feds only give us about 11% for special educations, where the state kicks in about 19 to 20%. But as you see, the bulk of spending for special education comes from the localities, and it places a significant burden on localities, school boards, boards of supervisors, the local funding sources. And so there's a large advocacy to push the Fed to pay more for this. It is a federal law, a federal requirement. And when they wrote IDEA in special education, there was a talk or a promise, depending on what historian you talk to, but there was a promise that the Fed would increase it up to 40%. And they've never lived up to that promise. To the Fed, they can do what they want, I guess. But it would make a world of difference if we had that kind of funding to be able to help kids and be able to retain teachers. We do performance reports with the state. They do it, it's always going to be delayed. The last one is 2021, and this is where the state measures. This is our measurement. This is our report card. Not only do we have all the other general education requirements, we also have our own requirements. And I just share a few of them. The first one is graduation, because that's the most important one, right? Are we getting kids across the stage? And this is percent of youth with an IEP who graduate with a regular high school diploma. Now, certainly we have kids with more significant impairments who would get an applied studies diploma, but this is measuring the kids who get a regular high school diploma or an advanced high school diploma. In the last measurement, we were at 73.56. Here's how we stack up with our neighboring divisions. So we're about on par, slightly ahead of some, not, but we think graduation is so important, and that's largely due to the work of our secondary principals and their guidance counselors who work with those kids, work with those families, knowing the regulations, knowing where we can apply for supports and credit accommodations, and having that goal in mind that we're going to get the kid across the stage. So we're pretty proud of that. Always work to be done. We're never, you never arrive. You always keep pressing on. All right, lastly, I'm going to leave you with some legislative tracking that we're doing in the department. these are state bills. House Bill 1089 would add a parent resource staff to each division. We are hopefully that passes or moves forward, that we would be able to have a staff dedicated to supporting our families. It's a complicated process. Hard to talk in a 5-minute conversation. So if we had a staff person that was dedicated to help parents navigate the complexities of special education, and it's hard enough for a teacher. Imagine you're a parent coming in from the outside. It's difficult. So we would love to have that, and so we're watching that bill. The House bill, Senate bills there adds funding for special education. That gets at some of the SOQ funding and trying to make corrections to SOQ. It also looks at ELL and things like that. That would be a huge win for us as well. Senate Bill 60 just addresses some IEP considerations that would also add another component back to teachers. Make sure you're doing this at your IEP meetings. Well-intentioned, but it would be another thing that I have to go back to teachers saying, hey, make sure you're doing this, and then I got to make sure we're checking to make sure it's being done. And then the last one is they're directing the VDOE to do a special education staffing study, or do we have the right staffing standards for our schools? And so we're looking for that to happen and see the outcomes of that study. So that's all I got. Any questions?
Summarization, how many new positions in this upcoming budget were you advocating for? There was a couple of
5?
assessment teachers.
Yep.
The math was...
coach.
Okay.
Coach moved that because I'd still have to fill her role, but I could probably contract out some of those services to some retired, there's an organization that does that as well that we've used in the past. So a math coach, 2 compliance specialists, and then 2 teachers.
Okay.
So, yep.
When you said either the Senate bill or the House bill said adds funding, quantity-wise on adds funding, how much?
It's estimated about $500 million in the state. They haven't given us, obviously it would go through the whole calc tools and everything like that, but statewide it'd be $500 million. So obviously it's got to go through the appropriations, it's got to go through the budget process, all those types of things. I would just say watching the legislative process this year, there is a lot of focus on education, and there's a lot of focus on education funding in the right way. They have recognized through the JLARC studies, it's been well documented independently that Virginia has not adequately funded their public schools. And so I think the legislature is trying to find a way to adjust that and correct that. And they're particularly concerned about our vulnerable populations.
So, the HB 1089.
Yes, sir.
Is that a mandate or a funded?
It would be a funded position. Of course, we would have to pick up through our LCI
Right.
composite, but it would be a mandated position funded through the SOQ, process.
Actually, follow-up question to Scott's 11% of the funded person, and then everybody else has to pitch in all the rest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so that would be kind of an added position, if you will. There would be fiscal things. Yeah, that's a good point.
I've noted on our bills that we're paying an increase in private carriers.
Yes.
What, can you elaborate on that?
Partly the constraints in finding drivers in the general side, being able to find drivers that can just drive. That's just
Driver special needs buses, you mean?
Either or. Either or. Is Dr. Ranella here? No. But either or. Yeah, it's just finding people. We have a few difficult routes to our private vendors where it's more efficient for us to contract that out than to utilize our own resources for it.
So who are these private carriers? Are they?
Harvest. We contract with Harvest.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
They've been a good partner for us. They have the
Okay.
training. We know them and we have the relationship, but
So these are trained drivers?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's sort of where I was
Yeah.
going with this. Okay.
we
all
meet
right.
with them regularly, talk about the kids, how they're doing. Yep.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for your time. I
You
do
wanna,
need the,
Would
sir.
you want to just put in a word about Laurel and how we're doing there?
Yeah,
and
Laurel's one of our,
behavior kids?
Say that again?
Our behavior kids?
Yes, Laurel's one of our programs. It's housed in Lynchburg City, but it's a jointly operated program, kind of like the Governor's School. But it started in the 80s as a joint partnership from the regional divisions to meet kids with unique needs that would be better pulled together with highly trained staff to meet their needs. So it started as kind of a medical model for kids with medical fragile needs. It's kind of expanded. I don't know, 10 years ago, we added autism to it. And then this past 3 years now, 2 years? 2 years, we've added a unique behavioral program to address try and instill behaviors now become the number one need to address our kids with unique behavioral needs with a trained counselor and a trained behavioral therapist there to address those needs. So it's kind of continued to evolve to meet the divisions of the needs. And they're doing a great job with it. I encourage you to go visit Laurel if you haven't. It's a great place to visit and walk through and see some great work being done. Absolutely. Really special.
More questions?
Could I have a copy of the PowerPoint?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I do need the annual plan approved. Can't let you off. I can't walk back until I get the annual plan approved.
Do
I
hear a
got to send
motion-
it to the state.
Do I hear a motion to approve the annual plan?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Maddox, second by Mrs. Vaughn, that we approve the special education annual plan. Any questions? Any discussion? Further discussion? If none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Dr. Pines. Mr. Sisk, some policy revisions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tonight I have a first reading on a policy, admission of homeless children, policy JECA. Had one small deletion from that policy regarding transportation. That line is not needed. The reason we found out about that line, as you know, the McKinney-Vento Act, which was put in place back, around 85, 87 at some point, talked about how to immediately care for kids when they become homeless, because we know that children who are experiencing homelessness or some other tough situation like that, we heard some talk earlier about trafficking. Those are the first kids that become vulnerable in those situations. Those are kids who need the most help, and academically, they're the kids who probably need the most help right then. They don't have a place to sleep. They don't have food to eat. So the school system does a great job to provide those things. And it has become, if you notice, the last reading of this was quite a while back. Around the turn of the century, around 2000, McKinney-Vento became very active, and we really learned about it for the first time then. That's when we really started serving kids, enrolling kids immediately if they were homeless, without question, getting them in the building. But this section that I'm deleting here is not needed, and it actually goes against the whole, I guess, the idea of the bill whatsoever. So we just need to get rid of that. It's already down below in transportation. It's talked about what we actually do. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Ms. Hunley, personnel report. There's a lot of names on there by now.
There are, but if you'll see the note, this is as a result of the survey that we do in January. So this is when we send out our intent forms, and our staff members that know that they're not returning next year already, let us know that ahead of time. So we have some retirees in there, folks that know that they're moving or possibly staying home with new babies and things like that. So this is a little bit of a longer report than usual. We had about 30 people turn in that survey that they were not returning next year. And of course, we'll have some more trickle in between now and the beginning of next school year. However, along with the personnel report, we had our career fair on Saturday. Thank you to those that were able to come. We have some excellent candidates, I think, out of as a result of that. We had exactly 100, according to the check-in sheet, teacher candidates come on Saturday. And then around 40 classified staff members or people that were interested in classified positions come to the career fair on Saturday. So it was a very successful event. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Tracy Dobbins and Kelsey Inge in my office that do a tremendous amount of work to help put that on. And then also Mark Hudson's staff. There's a lot of technology and stuff behind the scenes that he and his staff helps with. Charlie was there and some other of his folks. And then just all of our school administrators and folks from central office. It's an extra Saturday, so everybody worked 6 days this past week. It was a really great event, so it was a great collective effort by everyone. So I'm excited to see some hiring. I already got some phone calls today. today about people, so we'll start to fill a lot of these positions pretty quickly. We've actually, before the job fair on Saturday, have replaced some of these people. So our principals are on it like they usually are. Dr. Anella also let me know that he's still hanging around the same number of shortages. He needs 5 full-time people and 4 part-time people. He let me know, though, from the career fair on Saturday, he had 2 people that walked in with a CDL. So he's working on getting them in this week. And then 2 bus aides as well. So he had 4 candidates that looked pretty promising for his staff. So unless you have any other questions about the personnel report, I'd ask that you approve it as written.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got one question. I had 2 people ask me, how do we advertise this
The career
job
fair?
fair? I mean, after it's all
Goodness.
said and done, how did, because there was several people I talked to, 2 people I talked to said they didn't hear anything about it.
Goodness. Okay, so I'd love feedback on that. So we use social media a lot, obviously. So our Facebook page, our school's Facebook page and websites. I do a media release. Last year I did a radio announcement, but when I did a survey after, I surveyed all of the people that came. Not one person marked that they heard about it from the radio announcement, so I didn't do that again this year. But it's a lot of, it's word of mouth, website, social media, our marquees. We print out cards for schools to hand out, or when people come in to meet with Ms. Yule for substituting, we hand those out. Posters, put those at the public libraries. Am I missing anything? So if someone hasn't heard about it, I
remember Dr. Miller, or one of the board members said, with our new electronic signs at most of our schools, we could utilize
We do.
that. And I just wondered if,
I did ask principals to do that. Like, I know I saw it on Rustburg Middles, driving into work every day. So I hope that our schools did that for us. Yeah.
because the key to it is getting the word out.
That's right.
That's the thing, so.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
if I remember right, motion by Mr. Phillips, second by Ms. Vaughn, that we approve the personnel report. Any more questions or discussion?
If I could steal a couple more minutes of your time, I have one more thing I would love to share with you guys, and he's not going to be happy with me, but Mr. Bennett, could you please come up here with me? Just come on. I had the privilege of going on Friday with Keith and with Mark Wilburn, one of our mentor coordinators, to the VASCD, and I had to look up what that meant, I'm gonna be honest, because I can't remember all the acronyms either, but it's the Virginia Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. Every year, they seek nominations for awards for different categories. One is a team award, one's a leadership award, and one is an impact award. Mark Wilburn, one of our mentor coordinators that works at Brook Neal with Mr. Bennett, suggested nominating Keith for this award. So we solicited some input. It would have been one thing if Mark and I just wrote a pretty good recommendation letter. I think I could probably write that and make Keith sound really great. But I think when we told Keith that we also solicited information from his teachers, I think that's really what made the difference. We asked some of his teachers to write kind words about him, and I think that that made a little bit of a difference. But this award is presented to Virginia educators each year to recognize their positive impact on colleagues or students. Impact Award recipients may serve in any capacity in education as long as there is evidence that their work exemplifies great teaching and a significant positive influence on others. So out of all the nominations, Mr. Bennett was awarded this on Friday at the Virginia ASCD awards ceremony. And I got to go and attend, and it was great. It was a nice ceremony, and Mr. Bennett is very deserving of this award. So we nominated him based on his work for all of his staff, really, the support that Mr. Bennett, and then also Mr. Harrison, he's in the building with Mr. Bennett. These two work really hard with their staff members, especially their new teachers. If you go to Brook Neal, if you have a scheduled meeting, you might find him in his office, but Keith's not in his office. He's in classrooms, he's working with teachers, he's working with students, and he's very deserving of this award. Thank you, Keith.
So this is a state award, or
It is.
was this a region, or the
state.
The number one in the state?
There were 5 winners of this Impact Award, so Keith was one of 5. Yes.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yes. I told Keith, I told him about it, he said, I don't care about any awards. Well, he doesn't. That is not the point. Doesn't care about the award. I do think hearing that his teachers helped us write the nomination helped. When I told him that I was going to have him come tonight, he was not happy. And then on Friday, when we were going to the awards assembly, I said, Keith, I have to take your picture too and put this on Facebook. And he deadpanned for a second and said, no, I did not know that. But it's on Facebook, and there are a lot of nice comments from teachers and staff members and parents and community members too.
Well deserved,
Mr. Bennett, you got anything to say?
Not really. Somebody doing something really nice about it, so I appreciate it.
Well, hey, Keith, you can do better than that. Tell us about your school and why you got this award because of what you do at your school. I mean, you're.
I mean, honestly, we're a very close school. I have a lot of young teachers. It's hard to staff down there. I mean, a lot of people don't want to drive 45 minutes or an hour down there. So it does draw us close. We have an amazing group of students. And they're just our focus. And so I try to hire people that way, and we're all working together, and we struggle all the time, but it's
Struggle together.
struggle together, yes.
He's not going to toot his own horn, but truly, Brook Neal is a very special school. So we do have struggles getting folks that want to drive to that end of the county. But Keith is actually a really great recruiter. He really utilizes Liberty University. So every single practicum student, teacher, person that will drive down to Brook Neal, Keith gets into his building. And they want to stay. So, I'm on the Liberty University Advisory Committee, and they just recently asked Keith to join it as well because their student teachers come back and talk about Mr. Bennett at Brook Neal. So everybody knows Mr. Bennett at Brook Neal. He does a really nice job with recruiting folks down there, and then they want to stay because of the support that's provided.
Great. Can I share?
Sure.
Because I call Keith every time before the meeting, and everything is a glass half full. I say, how's the teacher morale, or how's the kids doing? Everything is, well, we could be doing better, but, and it's always positive, and it's positive with his kids, with his teachers. He sees the best in all the kids, he sees the best in all the teachers, and works at getting that out of them. So I never really hear anything negative. Even when I say, well, how, he struggles with attendance down there, and he struggles with some behavior, but he always puts a positive spin on it every single time, and I really appreciate that. And those kids are benefiting because of Keith's presence down there. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we still got to vote on the personnel report. So all those in favor of approving the personnel report, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, got that done. Dr. Hale, Nakote, academic calendar.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I do bring to you tonight the 24 through 25 academic calendar. It is the same that we discussed in January, but this is the actual month that I will bring it to you for approval. So unless you have any other questions or need a recap of the changes in January, I do ask for your approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Parker, second by Ms. Tanner. Any questions? Anybody got any? This is the same thing we presented with at the last meeting, correct?
Correct.
No changes from that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions? If none, all those in favor of approving this calendar indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Dr. Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing I want to do is show my appreciation during School Board Appreciation Month for all that you all do for our students and teachers in our school division. I'd like to thank Dr. Ranella for having you all to her school last week. That was a nice show of appreciation, but it's certainly sincere, and thank you for what you do. And this week is School Board Clerk Appreciation Week. So Michelle and Tracy, thank you for everything that you do for us. I want to remind you that we've got in March 13th, the VSBA Southern Region Spring Forum, and that is going to be at Appomattox High School, and we need to know if you would like to attend. Please let Michelle or Tracy know so we can get you registered. And we do want to host that next year, so I'll make sure that we emphasize that if we can host next year, we'll do so. So from what I understand, it's a good time to collaborate with colleagues and see what other school boards are doing. So we look forward to that. I want to thank our staff for the job fair, all their efforts on Saturday. You know, we don't have too many opportunities where we can get all of our administrators and central office staff in the same room. So when we do, it's a pretty powerful moment, and it feels really good to see how hard they work to make our school division great, and appreciate their efforts on getting on the personnel work early. Obviously, when you hire great people, you can have a great organization, and it starts with hiring in February. Just a comment on the Freedom 424. We did meet, Dr. Hale and we met with Joy Cover earlier this school year, and so you know, we do obviously want to help assist in making human trafficking that issue on the forefront, and however we can do that, we certainly want to. But we met with Ms. Cover and we talked about the curriculum. They have a curriculum that we can put into our schools, and we did so at Alta Vista Combined, and from what I understand, that went very well, and we're looking at instituting that in our other secondary schools as well in the future. We also talked about having some community awareness events in the future, so that's something that we're working on, and certainly believers in that effort. In terms of the budget, next month, I think March 11th is our next board meeting, and that's where I will present to you our budget and where we are at that point. Right now, all we've got is the governor's proposal, and with that really comes a 1% bonus that he's pushing. However, I do think that we'll get some clarity next week, from what I understand from the General Assembly, on what that could look like and what those bills that they've presented could actually look like. So hopefully we'll have more information next month. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me. I'll answer them the best that I can. And that's all I've got.
This is Max thing. Is there eating in that? Do you know if there's eating at that Appomattox thing? I couldn't see it from the flyer.
I heard the taco wagon was really good out there. I haven't
It
been
is
yet.
very good.
There,
Oh.
it is.
Oh, yeah,
It is?
everybody's told.
Yeah.
You wanna tally who's gonna go like now?
Just let us know by the end of the week.
All y'all know if you're going or not?
I'm going.
I'm going.
Gary, you going?
Yeah.
Crystal, you going? You gotta go. You can't miss out on one of these.
Yes.
And you going?
Yes, Scott's going. I'm going.
So it looked like everybody will go. And we're guessing there is eating. Well, because eating is really a mystery meal kind of thing from years of experience. All right, that's Appomattox, and then you're going to set up to arrange it where we'll host it the next year?
Yes, I will.
Be great. Let's see. Ms. Parker, you got anything to contribute to the board?
I do, I appreciate it. Ms. White shared with me that the theater program at Brookville High School had the Bring It On play this year. And she mentioned just before the meeting that we had a lot of students participate that aren't normally in the theater program. So the attendance was even exponentially larger than it had been in the past, which is just fabulous, right? More exposure is always a great thing, so that's awesome. And I do want to thank her. I was unable to come to the job fair, but I'm sure Christine had a little extra burden for hosting the job fair at her school, and her staff and janitors, and look at Amy. Sorry. Wasn't trying to steal any thunder, yeah.
Christine is very accommodating.
Yeah, and staff, janitors, all of the folks that we don't get to see that often appreciate everything that they do too to help with that. I actually called Nick earlier today and I was like, don't feel any pressure to get many numbers tonight, but I rode a special education bus, I'm gonna cry, on Friday. Exponentially shocked at how many more students were walking into Rustburg schools with special needs from when my son, who's 20, went to Yellow Branch. I mean, I was floored. And that's just a small portion of the county. So I was like, how many more people do we have now? It's crazy and sad. So I won't get on my medical freedom horse, but if you want to see me after, come see me after and I'll explain why it's happening. So I appreciate everyone and Dawn Berrigan and her aide, John. I was exhausted and just emotionally fried after riding the bus with them for a couple hours. I don't know how they do it. And so I'm trying to think of ways that we can thank them, you know, more. Even I love my bus drivers, but the spec ed bus drivers and their aides, oh my goodness. So I was thinking maybe put clay in a dunk tank maybe. And that's, you know, where my mind goes. I mean, seriously.
We did that before.
I've done that for years.
We did that one year.
Yeah, okay. Because I was thinking, what would they really enjoy, right? Or Dr. Ranella, of course, you know, the
Much better
head of
idea.
transportation.
He'll
But
love
we
it.
definitely, you know, on top of everyone that works their tails off for our schools, it was just, you know, the weight was just unbelievable. So I appreciate them. And I have to thank my favorite government teacher, Erin Scott, and Miss White for getting our idea for our field trip through. So 33 seniors from Brookville High School went to the state capitol, got to see how it works, and got to meet with our legislators. I have a huge shout out to Mr. Scott because he also drove the bus. He made arrangements to park the bus a few blocks away, and he Ubered back and forth after he dropped us off. I mean, so went the extra mile to make this happen. I also need to thank legislative aide Jack Collins, who works with our delegate Wendell Walker, and thank Wendell as well. They went out of their way, and Jack actually spent the whole day with us to make sure we got where we needed. We didn't get lost, we didn't lose any kids. And he also had a private meeting scheduled with Attorney General Jason Miyares in his office, and it was amazing. Talk about emotional too. I've seen Jason speak before. His mother's a naturalized citizen from Cuba, and I asked him to share that story with the students, and it was absolutely just life-changing for these kids. I heard them all walking out going, man, that was great. Took the time to, you know, shake their hands, pictures. Senator Peake, Delegate Zaire, and Delegate Walker all came off the floor to come and speak to the kids inside the original chambers. It was a fabulous day. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved in that, and I hope that we have some future leaders as a result of the field trip. It was awesome. And that's all I have.
That's great.
Dr. Miller.
Yeah, it's a hard act to follow, yeah. I don't have a lot, and the notes I had, I left in my truck, but I already, you know, talked to Keith, and things are clicking along in Brookneal. I talked to Ms. Hanson, and I asked a little bit about the, you know, all in Virginia, how the teachers like it, how it feels. They really like the Lexus program, and really feedback is they appreciate it, and they appreciate how it's done, and also the resources that come along with it, and feel that it's impactful. And so I'm glad to hear about that, because I was a little worried about how we were doing our all-in, but it's getting good feedback so far. So she's pretty happy. Both basketball teams are doing well. She's happy about that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you to Dr. Pontius. I want to, Dr. Pontius does a great follow-up on our special needs kids, and everybody who puts in 110%. So he puts in 120%. And so appreciate it. Maybe more than 120. That's, I don't know what the bar is, but he is all in for our special needs kids, and I know he's constantly frustrated with the red tape and the funding that's supposed to be there and sounds good, but it's not, and he has to wear a lot of hats. he can't just be a special needs person. He has to deal with lawyers, and so we really appreciate you.
Thank you. Ms. Tanner?
All right, so I guess the dates for the Right Before Your Eyes, you guys had asked about that earlier, so I'll go ahead and give you guys those. There is a flyer that's floating around that's got all the dates on it. But February 22nd is our kickoff at Brookville High School. February 29th is Rustburg High School. March 7th is right here at Campbell County Tech Center in this room. March 14th is William Campbell Combined School, and March 19th is Alta Vista Combined School. So they're all, except for the 19th, fall on a Thursday. They run from 6 to 8. It's 2 hours, and I'll remind you that students are not allowed to attend. So it's an adult-only, parent-only event. With the issue with human trafficking, that's something that we actually tie in a little bit into this as part of it, because we do know that happens. I've gone to numerous trainings. Recent one that was held for communicators in the county with social services in Campbell County, and what to look for, and how present it is right here, right before us, in essence. And so we do actually mention that as part of that parenting session. And so there's some tidbits in there. We don't go in as in-depth as the one that was recently held at Timberlake Church, that Freedom 424 did, that had quite a few teachers present at that one. So we're all getting in tune that it's right here, and what can we do about it. But I did have the opportunity to go to Leesville Road and celebrate their 100th day celebration. I had my little one all dressed up as his old man, and they had quite a few events, and we got to hop around in different classrooms with Kristen and enjoy that, and that was great. Brookville Middle School had their annual rehearsal-a-thon for band, and that's a huge event for them, and it was quite successful. I did get to attend Bring It On, and so I will certainly collaborate. It was so many students. It was a packed house, and it was a wonderful theater event that we had. As far as, athletics at the high school, track's heading on, has got region winners. They're heading on to state this week. Our swim team has got region winners. They're heading on to state. We've got forensics has actually had region winners this week and has been successful. We did have a loss at Brookville High School last week that has really impacted our swim and dive community. We lost our dive coach, Cruz Mayfield, to cancer. He had been battling for a few years, and that was a huge hit for us. His son is actually our region winner and is going to be competing on Thursday in Hampton for state. His brother had won states in the past, and so he is competing for the state title for the first time without his dad beside him. And he will meet up the rest of the state team on Friday night. They'll all arrive to compete on Saturday. So he's actually in the swim event as well. And so that is a big hit for our community, that we lost our dive coach right at the prime time for so many of our swimmers and divers when he's usually on the side of the pool. So just asking for prayers and thoughts and well wishes for that team as they embark, missing one of their own this week.
Mr. Maddox?
I'll be short. I attended a basketball game the other Friday night. I don't know whose idea it was, Miss Anderson, if it was yours, but we had the girls varsity play Gretna and the boys varsity play Gretna. And we recognized the 20-year anniversary of the 2004 state champions. And that place was packed. Dr. Stanley came, it was literally packed. Juan Thornhill was recognized. Give a shout out to him because he stayed afterwards and signed autographs. Them kids loved that. Also went to an awards assembly at Alta Elementary, the Paul Print program, and seeing the kids get their little medals there. They won the Olympics, it looked like. And the last thing I got is the career fair. I pulled in at 10 o'clock, couldn't find a parking place. And I want to thank everybody that took their Saturday for that. Employees and kids. Y'all had kids there. And one I want to acknowledge is Jake Thomas, who spent his time there dressed up as the Alta Vista Elementary School Tiger. That will stay with him for a long time. Anyway, thank y'all for everything you do.
David, so you got quite a bit there jotted down.
Yeah, man, I got y'all buckle in. No, I'll be quick. So Ms. Mendez, thanks for your efforts on getting some information out to the community through your organization. Good to hear about that tonight. And thanks for your feedback, Ms. Coleman, on the libraries. Great to hear your feedback on the progress there. So thanks for both your reports tonight. The page full of donations, we spoke to that earlier. Thanks to the community for all the donations. A lot of good donations to Rustburg High School track program and the FFA through Phillips Equipment. Had to give Phillips Equipment a plug there. Let's see. Concord Elementary School, we had a lunch out there this past Friday, thanks to Dr. Ranella, the female version, that is, for her hosting the school board, as well as Dr. Stanley and Dr. Hale, and a few others. So that was a great event. Mr. Bennett, AKA George, me and Mr. Bennett go back a long way to our days at Rustburg High School, running cross country together. No surprise, very proud of you. I know your work ethic and your attitude towards what you always put 110% in everything you do. So glad to see you're recognized for that effort. Congratulations. So, also, Dr. Pontius, thank you for your report tonight and all your efforts. I'll follow suit on that as well. Thanks for all that you do throughout the year, you and your team. And I think that was it.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn?
Well, I also wanted to say thank you to Mr. Pontius for all that you had to say, and I'm really excited for House Bill 1089. I think that's one of my passions. I'm a special education teacher. Used to work at Alta Vista Elementary School with Wendy and Crystal, and now as a parent of a special needs child who went through the special education process, it's really hard sometimes to get parents and school staff on the same page. It's so much red tape, it's so many laws, it's just a really convoluted process. So having that kind of resource officers, what is it called? Parent resource officer? I think that'll be a really great thing to have us all on one team working together for the best needs of the student. Also, I was able to take many tours of a lot of the schools, talked with principals, met with staff. Thank you to everyone. It was nice meeting everyone. Got to go to Leesville Road with Karen, 100th day of school, and then we got to witness the Barn Hill Preserve Assembly where they brought animals. It was the first assembly since COVID, I think they said, in 3 years, and the kids loved it. Thank you to Concord Elementary School for the school board lunch. It was all homemade meals, and you can tell that it was made with love, so I appreciate that. Thank you to all of the donors. There were quite a few donations to track and field programs. My track athlete heart is very happy. Congratulations to the Rustburg Boys Track and Field for their regional title win, and to all the Campbell County Public High Schools for top 5 finishes in boys and girls track at the regional meets. March 21st is College and Career Day. It's a fair style event here, and it's a great opportunity for all the Campbell County Public Schools seniors. Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Mr. Hardy?
No, I just know that Mrs. Wilson leads our efforts with that here at the Technical Center, and we're scheduled to have 70 plus local businesses and other technical schools here to expose our students to. So it's always a great day. We're looking forward to that once again this year.
Sounds like a great opportunity. And then February 15th is National SRO Day, and so I just wanted to say thank you and recognize all of our SROs for all you do to keep our schools safe. That's it.
Thank you. Before I forget, since it's School Board Clerk Appreciation Month, thank y'all for everything y'all do. Answer all our questions and have everything we need ready, and just thank you so much for what you do. Again, I'll express my appreciation to Dr. Ranella and our staff at Concord for providing us with lunch last Friday for School Board Appreciation. That very night, not only was lunch not enough for Ms. Ranella and her staff, they had a Valentine's dance. I was invited to go, but I declined. I saw pictures,
You should go dance.
and it was pretty wild. He never, and I guess it's a good thing that the Super Bowl halftime show was after the Concord Valentine's dance, because I think a lot of kids learn more dancing watching the Super Bowl halftime. But anyway, I saw videos of the Valentine's dance, and they were pretty wild. So, and she sold, I think she said she contracted with Upper Crust Pizza to sell 190 pizzas, and they sold them all or something. So it was a very successful night on Friday. The job fair Saturday was spectacular again. It's just. I mean, it didn't even have to. I'm like Gary. When I drove into the parking lot, I said, "There got to be something else going on here besides the job fair," because it was like an athletic event. The parking lot was packed. When you got to the median in the road, you could hear music playing from somewhere, and it was like very calming. It had greeters at the door, greeters at the table. Everybody had smiles on their faces. And then, you know, February 10th is pretty kind of the pit of the year, I mean, date-wise. But everybody is in an upbeat mood, smiles on their faces, just looked like happy to be there. And it was just an extraordinary event. And not only you just come, but you bring stuff from your school to promote your school. Mr. Hardy had everything, every class he has here, he had something representing that class, and just, you know, just to get people's interest. And it was just a great event. And if you all remember, the volunteers there was a couple girls at the front desk. It was very nice. And at the end, I saw Mrs. Lauren Kirby. If you remember her, she was a girl that spoke to us a couple weeks ago,
Right.
who expressed a desire to be a special education teacher. So I didn't see her until I was getting ready to leave, and I said, "Did you get a job?" And she said, "I've been helping all that." I said, "No, I'm talking about, did you get a job for 2 or 3 years down the road when you finish college?" And she just, a smile went across her face, like that's what she wants to do. So it was just a great day Saturday, and I appreciate all the efforts that everybody contributed. It was really, really great. The donations, I'm trying to get in my mind. I remember donations used to be like 1 or 2, and nothing really, and they've kind of grown. And I guess we're very fortunate, and we just want to express our appreciation to all the donors and the kindness behind what they do. And Mr. Bennett, thank you for what you do. Appreciate everything you do. Wish we could bottle it and sell it. We might have something. So just thank you and keep it up and keep Dr. Miller happy. That's really. And I think that's all I got. So, and I think that's really. You don't have anything for us? Anybody got it? You got your finger up?
No. It's
Anybody
nice.
got anything
it's
else?
It's nice that we don't have any discipline.
You got anything?
Good.
Now, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Phillips, second by Dr. Miller. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess.